Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009 when he was just 15 years old. This post is from the 29th of May 2011 and it's just more about what I was going on about in the last post about the CAMS session with the psychiatrist's assistant. And this post is called "The More I Think About It, the More I'm Angry About Friday's CAMS Session." Seeing Ben and my husband go off cycling today spoke volumes about where Ben is in the weight recovery stakes. He may be within the first 6% centile of boys his age, height, etc., but in my very strong opinion, he is not weight restored. In summer 2008, Ben and his dad did the coast-to-coast cycle ride across northern England. Today, Ben was wearing the same cycling gear he wore back then, and the contrast was pretty acute. Never forget, Ben was a strapping rugby player who also won the 1500-metre run in his school sports day in 2009. He is also a keen hiker. Yes, he is looking healthy and eats an extremely healthy and balanced diet, which is brilliant progress, but he is still too thin. Unfortunately to him, CAMS have implied that he is now okay. To all intents and purposes, he is weight restored. And of course, the eating disorder loves this. Triumph. It's as if it says, "See, I told you so. Big bad mum was wrong all along. Hey." So, where do we go from here? How do I undo this? How do I get Ben back on board and working towards his natural weight rather than have him fighting against me to stay where he is? I need to set up a meeting with the psychiatrist. And I'll read the final post for May 2011, which is called Dr. Sarah Ravin Speaks Sense. Dr. Sarah Ravin is a really clued up American expert on eating disorders, and I've just been reading her latest article. The content is particularly relevant to us at the moment. The number of times I've heard how Ben's treatment won't work and or unless, quote, Ben chooses to get better, unquote. And lately, why it's important to, quote, let Ben choose a final weight he feels comfortable with, unquote, rather than enforcing a higher and almost certainly more realistic and relapse-resisting goal. Or at least that's what I believe CAMS have been saying. Ultimately, we are told that the choices are, quote, Ben's choices, unquote, not ours. We can't inflict our own will on him and he has to, quote, want to get better, unquote. However, I was interested to see that Dr. Ravin points out that, and I quote her here, the problem with emphasising insight and motivation early in treatment is the presumption that the patient must choose to get well, and that if she or he does not make that choice, no one else can make it for her. Precious weeks, months, even years are wasted trying to form an alliance, cultivate motivation, and develop insight. And that's the end of that little quote. I understand from our treatment team that we are also about to embark on a few sessions exploring the reasons why Ben might have developed the eating disorder, looking back at his early life, etc. But Dr. Sarah Ravin says, and I'm quoting her again, in reality, childhood experiences are generally irrelevant to the patient's eating disorder. There is no evidence that an ill patient can overcome his or her eating disorder by exploring or processing such experiences, unquote. I'm still frustrated at how Ben came away believing on Friday that his current weight is fine and that he is, to all intents and purposes, weight restored. We've had a weekend of, quote, blah blah says I'm weight restored and she's a professional, you're not, so what do you know, unquote, shouted at us by Ben, or rather his eating disorder. I know that we shouldn't religiously look at numbers, but no way is 17-year-old Ben weight restored. He needs at least another half stone on top at least. This is a former strapping rugby player, cyclist and athlete we are talking about, not a Mr. Puniverse weakling. He can't be allowed to choose to stay where he is, or he may never recover. Sorry, but I won't settle for anything below what is obviously Ben's natural weight. And that's the end of that blog. You'll find a link below to my blog, and you'll also find a link to my website where you can download free PDFs of my blog, and also a link to Amazon where you can buy a copy of my book.